everybody. Welcome, internet people. Welcome to the Artist Journey. I'm your host, Wilfred Lee, and today we are hanging out via Skype with Mr. Zach Rensberger. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Rensberger.
that's right.
Yes.
Hello.
How are you doing, sir?
Very good. We're
Good.
enjoying a nice sunny Sunday morning here in Korea.
Yes, absolutely. It's nice. It's beautiful outside. The trees are out. The birds are chirping.
Yes.
Got our morning coffee going on here.
I haven't got that yet, but I'm sure I'll get there.
Yeah. By the way, I have to say right now that I love that huge collection of models you have in the back. Right now.
Yeah.
How many would you say you have right now?
I don't know. I think I probably intentionally never count because I don't
really
want to know. Because there's that, and there's another pile over here too, and it's just constantly growing. So, yeah, usually like complete one for every 5 or 7 new ones I attain. So,
so it's kind of like books or games, you know? It's like you have like all these games that you buy, and they're like, oh, if I only have so much time to kind of compile it and just play. So
Yep. I have even these days I don't ever like get around to playing games anymore. But like when I did a few years ago, and even then it was only a little bit. I have games from back then that I still haven't touched yet. So like I'm way behind in video games, and like doubly behind because I just won't ever get to them. But
well, I think that's still interesting considering the fact that this is becoming such more of a stronger passion that you don't really have that urge to play games, because like that happens a lot. For me, like if I have my PS3, I sold it a while ago, but if I had it, I would keep on playing games, even though I don't know if that's a bad thing, but I do feel like I have these stronger urges to do other things now. Maybe we're just getting older. I'm not sure, but
I don't know. I've never really thought about it if it's due to getting older, but I guess that could be part of it. I mean, just naturally kind of narrowing down your hobbies to just sort of like sticking to maybe 1 or 2 things like that, maybe.
Right.
But yeah.
So cool. So I'm just kind of curious. Let's just start from the beginning.
Sure.
Okay, where are you originally from?
I'm from Illinois.
Illinois.
In the United States. Yeah, from a kind of smallish town. My city is like it's like basically like 5 or 6 cities like all in one, and like the total population of that like metropolitan area is about 300,000, so not that much. But it's about 2.5 hours from Chicago. It's on the opposite side of Illinois from Chicago, so not too far from like bigger cities, but I don't know. Okay. And yeah.
Okay, so that's pretty interesting. So you grew up in Illinois and stuff in a population of 300,000, kind of small place. I'm just kind of curious. Was there any type of influences during that time that kind of led you to getting into gunpla and all that stuff?
Probably like most people, I think, in America, my age, who are into gunpla, they got into it through Toonami, through Cartoon Network's like batch of Japanese anime they showed in like the Toonami time slot. At that time, it was like they were showing a few different Gundam series, most notably probably Gundam Wing, and they also showed what else, like Cowboy Bebop, and I think like Rurouni Kenshin, and a few different anime series. Dragon Ball Z, of course, at that time as well. So from that, of course, was like my first exposure to Gundam. And at that time, Gundam was popular enough that some stores, like Toys R Us, were carrying some Gundam toys and models.
Whoa.
And I had some toys.
Yeah.
Of course, at that time, I was maybe like 13 or something, I guess. I don't know. Not that old. Still, like, just at around the time when you kind of should stop playing with toys.
Yeah.
But I had, like, some of those. And then I don't remember who got me my first model kit. I think it was probably my mom or dad, though. Anyway.
Shout out to mom and dad.
Yeah. I wish I could remember more clearly. Maybe they remember. If they remember, they should let me know. But yeah, one of them got me a model kit, and that was fun because it was cool to actually like build it first, and then like I played with that like together with the toys. So like it was just like building your own toy kind of thing. And but the availability of them was kind of short-lived for a couple of years maybe, and then like the TV shows, I guess, I don't know, maybe were not as popular anymore or something, so the stores stopped carrying. Actually, I've heard that like Bandai, the company that makes the models, had trouble, like just didn't really get along with, I guess, like the big retailers of America, so like that kind of was part of the problem as well. So the availability of them went away, and then I got into other things as well. High school, I was just skateboarding and hanging out with my girlfriend and friends, and like just didn't do that. And then university, of course, I was just busy doing everything else for school and no money. And in the summer between my third and fourth year of university, I took a trip to Japan. My first time that I went to Japan at that time in 2009. And while I was there, of course, I was like, oh yeah, everything's so cheap, and there's like everything there. So picked up probably 6 or 7 or 8 models or something. Like I was with my girlfriend at the time, my past girlfriend, and I think I was probably just like driving her a little bit crazy, like going and doing all the shopping and then having to lug around these giant bags of these kits.
Right.
Ended up having to take some stuff to the post office and posting it back home, and then like that was expensive, of course, sending huge boxes overseas. So she's like, are you really saving any money, like buying the kids cheap and then like spending all this money to send them back home?
Right. That's so great. That's so interesting because when I was growing up back in Canada, I lived in a small place too, and the population was just shy under 30,000 people, and I didn't. Maybe because we were in Canada, we didn't have Annie Boom, or just not Annie Boom, but the the show where you can watch anime. So the only access that we had at the time was this really small video game shop. It was like a video game store, and it was called Microplay, and you could just rent the games that they had there. That was the era when PS1 just came out, I think, and they had one movie section where it was only anime. And I just remember like, whoa, what is this? And he would just let me watch any of these movies, even though some of them were just like really weird and funky, but that's what got me exposed to that. And I think during that time I got really into manga and anime, because I was like, wow, it was just so different. I'm like, this is not even like X-Men, this is not even like Spider-Man the animated show, or Batman, like these are really dark, harrowing stories, and people die, and I remember just feeling this was a completely different dimension of world, and just to get exposed to that, especially in the early days of the internet, it was so hard to find stuff, it's so hard to do those things. And I guess finally when you come to Korea or go to Japan and you see it everywhere, that overabundance is just like, what? That kind of makes you want to learn the language and understand. It's actually one of the best invitations to learning a different culture as well, right? Just finding something that they're just as passionate about and finding like-minded people. So okay, so my question to you is, now that you have your YouTube channel, you have your Facebook channel, there seems to be like a really big community actually of people who are really into it, right? So what is it? What is it about Gunpla and making these kits that's so appealing to everyone? And what is the community like there?
That's a good question. I don't know I mean, for what makes people like enjoy it, I guess it's just like the building process. But I mean, like, there's a little bit of, I don't want to say it's a divide because I don't personally really think of it as a divide, but it sort of is, and for some people it is, between the people that like just build the model and then like just out of the box and then like that's it, it's just done.
Right.
So it's called just snapping.
Oh, great. We have a good
Or
okay.
the people who are like more into like modeling, where they're like doing all the painting and detailing and adding all this stuff and customizing and all that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. So uh, I think between the kind of different interests or the different things people want to get out of the hobby, I guess that maybe their motivations might be a little bit different. I think for maybe the people who are doing painting and all of that, maybe they're more into the sort of creative, a little bit maybe more like artistic side of it, where
Right.
it's like less about like, I don't know, less about having this thing, but more about like the creative process,
Right.
like learning new techniques and like trying new things and experimenting maybe, and like really trying to make it express something.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with other people, it's maybe more about just like collecting just small versions of some of their favorite robots from the anime series,
Sure.
which, you know, when you consider like they sell Gundam figures as well, that are just like the basically high end toys essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And those usually cost a lot more than the model kits. So like,
Because they're already done and created,
yeah,
right?
right. They're
Yeah.
done and they're like painted and like detailed like little figures. Like I said, just like really high end toys basically. But um, so I think like if those are much more expensive to collect, it's actually cheaper and it's fun building. So I think like for some people, like they just enjoy building it and then they just like having just a shelf with some of their favorite Gundams on it.
Yeah.
And so I guess there's a lot of different things that people enjoy, like getting out of the hobby. And I think for a lot of people, the community is something that they enjoy as well. I mean, because we all have the thing in common that we like these um, anime robots, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people in the gunpla community, just to clarify, just in case any of your audience doesn't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Please do. Yeah.
gunpla is just a mashup of the words Gundam plastic model.
Okay.
In Japan, plastic model is shortened as plamo. So
Mm-hmm.
they basically take Gundam and plamo and just make it gunpla.
Mm-hmm.
In the gunpla community of like the model kits, a lot of the people really, a lot of the modelers like really aren't that into anime itself. They just like the model kits. So
Yeah.
like they really don't like watch the anime. They don't really care too much about the anime. They just like the look of the robots or something like that. So
Sure. Yeah.
um,
Well, it's kind of interesting considering that you said there's kind of just a very subtle divide where people are just into snapping and people who take it further. Really,
hmm,
it's kind of just putting their own print. They're kind of like signing their name in a sense. Like taking it to another level. Redesigning. It's just like when people design shoes.
sure.
Sometimes, or Moose toys or kid. Robot. What is that? Kid robot. Those kind of vinyl toys where it's all completely white and then people start putting in their own designs. Do you know
Uh,
about that?
no, I don't think so.
Okay, sure. I'm gonna show people online right now about what I'm talking about, and then I'll send you a link as well. So I think it's called
Okay,
Kid Robot, right? And if you go to
I don't think I know it.
yeah, Kid Robot, it's how it works is you start off with like a plastic model and it's a very basic shape of a small cute character, like a big head, small body, and
Hmm.
then people can make their own designs based on it. And sometimes there's like these there's just well-known artists who are just known just to make these awesome upgrade high scale versions of them, and it's become this
Oh,
new kind of genre trend, I guess, where you can do that for a living. Like they're becoming like designer toys. They're no longer just toys for kids, really, right?
huh.
So I'm gonna show people on right now as well. So I just sent you the link. You can check it out.
Yeah, I
Let's see
see.
here, YouTube stream.
I'm imagining something like make your own bear brick kind of thing. Okay, I see.
Here we are. Okay.
So it looks like
Oh,
so it's basically just like what would you call that?
Well, they're
I don't
called
know.
money. That's like that model is monies and dunnies, and you can see like people do a lot of different, versions. Mine is obviously not loading up properly, but people can go
I
to
can see here.
could go to Kid Robot, and then they can actually see all the different variations that they have there.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember like a few years back. I'm sure there's the place is still there in Korea, but there's like a money cafe where you can go over there, and as long as you buy a coffee, oh there we are, then you can make your own design over there while you're there,
Huh.
and it's the same thing that they have like in Yongsan, right? When you go to the Gundam store,
Yeah.
when you buy, they started creating this small area where you can just start,
Mm,
immediately start snapping, and I kind of
yeah.
find that a little bit envious sometimes when I see a guy hanging out with his girlfriend, and you can see her generally kind of interested,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
she's actually like working it together, so it can be a really fun thing to do to with
Yeah.
to go on a date if you have like-minded interests and stuff.
And you see like dads with their kids there and stuff too, which is
Yeah,
just good.
that's totally fun. Yes. Speaking of dads, congratulations on being a
Thank you.
father. How old is your kid now?
He's almost 8 months.
Wow.
So he just started crawling,
Whoa.
and his two little bottom teeth are just starting to come in.
Oh, we see
So he's
teething.
already becoming a little boy. It's crazy.
That's great. What's his name?
It's a lot of fun. Noah.
Noah. Awesome.
We wanted something that can be a Korean name as well as an English name.
Very true.
So,
So,
yeah.
do you already have all these premonitions and dreams of just snapping and doing gunpla together and stuff?
Uh, Not really. I mean, I'm sure we will. If he'll like it or not, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't, that's fine. I mean, if he does, that's cool. I don't know what he's going to be into. So
Well, I
I don't
think
know what new thing's going to be out there that he's going to
that's
love,
true.
right?
Yeah, he could be really into like VR and stuff like that in the
Yeah,
future, and
it's
like
crazy.
yeah. But I mean, considering like just looking at your background, I mean, when I was young, when I saw my dad, I would be kind of inspired, maybe indirectly just by the background stuff that he had. When he had a guitar and he used to play from time to time, that would kind of feign interest to me. And I'm sure that would be probably the same for Noah as well when he grows up and he sees that the house is always has toys. Some of them maybe he can't play with yet, but then
Yeah,
later on he'll be able to try it out.
yeah. Luckily, I mean, and probably for a while, everything is going to be pretty much contained to
Yeah.
this room where he's not allowed.
This is dad's rooms. Like can't go
Yeah.
in there yet. Oh, that's
It's
great.
like this. It's like you see in like some movies and like animations where like it's like the dad's room and like where the kid like opens the door and it's just like this dark place and it's like this scary thing he doesn't want to go in there.
Like
It's gonna be
Narnia.
like that. Yeah.
Narnia. It's basically the man cave, right? So,
Yeah. Sort of. There's a corner of it is my wife's desk and all of her stuff as well.
mhm.
But it's mostly, of course, my. I don't know.
Yeah.
My dad was when I was growing up. My dad was really into cars,
Mm.
which I wasn't into and have never really gotten into.
But
Uh,
but what about cars was he really into? What
but
was it
yeah,
about?
he was working on cars, so I think like that
Huh.
was working on stuff and making stuff and working like with your hands. That has definitely, I
Sure.
think, passed down to me. I like making stuff and like over the past couple of years while I've been here in Korea, I've really enjoyed building like furniture. This desk here I've built like our table and our TV entertainment center
Mm.
and a few other things. Our bed I built here, so I like that, building stuff, working with wood.
Mm. That's pretty cool. So then that's very interesting too. How somehow what your dad's hobby was in terms of just with cars, but the fact that he was really into building and refining and all these different things suddenly
Mm.
got passed down. Like maybe that was indirectly influenced to you, and now you're doing with gunpla. So
Mm.
yeah, and then who knows what your son would be into as well, but maybe that kind of trait will kind of be passed down. But
Yeah.
be building into other things as well. That'd be
Yeah.
great to see. So, I'm just kind of curious. I have a few questions I tend to ask time to time. But so, we were just talking about what are the best gifts that you gifted to as a book, perhaps, and then you were talking about Waterfront and what it was about.
Watership Down.
Watership Down.
Yeah. That's all. It's just the story of this group of rabbits trying to find a new home.
So why was that so interesting for you? Like, why do you have a connection to that?
Yeah, the premise doesn't, I don't know, if just summarizing it doesn't really maybe seem the most interesting, but and it's really not the book that I would typically read. If someone just described that to me, I would be like, okay, that sounds cool, and I probably wouldn't read it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, interestingly, the reason that I even ever heard of the book was through Gundam, because there's a Gundam series where the mobile suits, the robots in that series, are all named after characters from this book. So I knew about that, and I was interested in the names. So I checked like what are the names from, and they're all from this book. So I checked out the book just like online. I just downloaded like a PDF of it, and I just read a few pages just to check it out because I really didn't know too much about the story. I didn't read like a whole synopsis or anything.
Right.
So I just read a few pages, and it was really interesting just right off the bat. So I just ordered a copy and got it sent here, and just really enjoyed it. Like, I don't read as often as I would like to.
Sure.
But this book, like, I just read it like all the way through, and like as soon as I was done, I wanted to read it again. So it's really, really good. So then after that, I bought a copy of it in Korean for my wife because I really wanted her to read it as well. So I thought it was really, really good. Awesome. So that is a book that I often recommend to people. I know it's kind of famous, but I guess a lot of people don't really know it. So I don't know. I guess if you're like really into like books, I guess maybe you might know it. But if not, if you're just kind of a normal sort of, what would you call that? Not an avid reader,
right?
You maybe don't know the story.
No worries. I think that's kind of interesting considering how Gundam was the catalyst that kind of inspired you to. I think it's always interesting when a different form of pop culture, kind of expresses their own influences within their show or their own type of media outlet like that. That's a really cool thing to see. I was just watching Freaks and Geeks recently, and that's what I saw a lot. Like a lot of the characters, like, oh man, Bill Murray's so awesome. Like, remember that part in The Jerk when like Steve Martin was doing this thing, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's great to see that kind of stuff. So now that you just mentioned about some backstory behind Gundam. How big, how vast is the universe of Gundam? Because every time I go to the Gundam store, I'm always thinking, like, how many different versions can there be? Like, how big is this story, Like, so many different types of model versions and variations, and people are like, well, this one, there's that, so have you seen everything?
There's a lot. I think I've probably seen everything. Yeah, sure. I mean, to a degree. But yeah, there's a lot, just because there's a lot of different series and movies in the whole Gundam franchise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly the number, but there's probably 15 or so series, and then a handful of movies on top of that. So essentially around 20 or so maybe stories that are animated. And then there's a lot of other side stories and stories that are just in manga.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of different universes, and some of the stories are connected, like they exist in the same universe, but some of the stories are just like totally different universe.
Right.
So like it shares the Gundam name and like it's like basic Gundam design, but mostly it's like it's a totally different story. So that is maybe why they're able to continue to keep making all these new designs and all these new model kits, because they're always working on new stories.
Oh, so it's like never ending. It's kind of one of those things where it always has like an open-ended universe where there's so many different types of stories you can kind of go to. Kind of like, I guess, closest thing I can think of right now is like Star Trek.
I don't know enough about Star Trek to say yes, but if you say so, then
I would say the reason why I would say if I could elaborate is for example when you think of the old version of like Captain Kirk and Spock, you know that was like the 1970s version, and then they came out with Star Trek: The Next Generation, where it's like a totally different, you know, timeline, but it's still contained within the same universe. And then they had, you know, Star Trek Voyager, completely different crew, different timeline, but still kind of interconnected somehow. They kind of, you know, were influenced by each other and stuff. So
yeah, I guess yeah, it would be similar to that, but even more different in the universes. Just because, like, I think in Star Trek, I guess I don't know, but from what I would imagine, that like, they still exist, like the same kind of basic thing that's going on. Like they're on the ship and they're doing, I don't know, what's the organization that they operate under? The Earth.
Star Trek is
There's some Federation, Earth
yeah.
Federation or something like that. Anyway, you still have like those same basic elements.
Yeah.
With Gundam, those kind of basic elements can be totally changed in different series. So like one series which is probably one of the most different series, for example, is G Gundam. That was another one that was famous in America at that time because it was shown on Toonami. Like the premise of that series is like that it's in the future where like they've done away with war, and like what they do instead is like all of the countries basically have moved to these like colonies out in space. So like they have like the Neo Japan, which is like the Japanese colony, and Neo America, which is the American colony. And they each have their own like one representative Gundam. And what they do is they just send every, I think once a year or something, every few years, I forget, they send their Gundams down to Earth to basically fight each other, and then whichever Gundam is the winner, that is like that country will be like the leader for the next however long until the next Gundam fight.
Right.
So that story is totally different from, like, for example, like the original Gundam story is about, it also takes place with colonies in space, but at that time, like the colonies in space are basically fighting for independence from the Earth government, and
So it's
like,
very political. Actually.
Yeah, a lot of Gundam series are very political. Yeah.
Oh wow, very interesting.
But yeah, so there can be a lot of differences in those sort of story elements.
Yeah, that's so pretty interesting because when people see that on a superficial level, you know, they say, "Wow, cool designs," and then that's how they get you sucked in. But then once they do that, they can see it's like a really very heavily involved kind of story, you know, involving with politics and just having independence and stuff. So it can have a lot of kind of parallels to things that are going on into modern day society and stuff, and just
definitely
translating it through, you know, science fiction that way.
I think I mean, I almost wish that some of the series would delve a little bit more into like the current like issues in terms of like political issues and like international issues and stuff like that. Most of the time, yeah, it's dealing with like political stuff and things about like sovereignty and international peace and things like that. Those are kind of like issues that Japan just always likes to talk about.
Sure.
Like just for the past few decades. I kind of wish they would deal a little bit more like precisely with issues that are like current problems. So yeah, it's interesting. I think they could go even farther with that though.
Cool. So is it possible if you could actually show any models that you have?
Yeah,
there?
Sure.
I would love to see some that you got going on.
Just for example's sake, here, why don't we take this one? Here's the Master Grade Delta Plus.
Look at that baby.
I don't know how I can hold it here. So this is just snapped. This is not painted or anything.
That's awesome.
So like the Master Grade line in Gunpla, they have different lines which will differ in their size and complexity, basically. A Master Grade is 1/100 scale, so a little bit larger size, usually around 10 inches or so, like this. Tall is a pretty average size. And a little bit more complex because underneath all of like the outer, they have a full like inner frame, kind of skeleton underneath.
So
which
you have
just
to make the skeleton first, like the
yeah,
exoskeleton and structure, and then you put everything
yeah,
on top.
yeah. So you're building kind of all of that that's going on inside first.
How, on average, how long does it usually take to work
Um,
for you?
it totally depends because I mean I've built a lot, so it's a little bit easier maybe for me,
Sure,
maybe a
yeah.
little bit faster than someone who hasn't. So
Mm-hmm.
when people ask me that question, I usually just like to pass on answering that because I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to say like, oh, this should take you like 3 hours, and then like someone who's like, it's like their first model kit and it takes them, or they maybe feel like they have to rush, like, oh, this should only take me 3 hours.
Right, right, absolutely.
So I mean, just go at your own pace. I mean, people
Right.
work at the different paces. So
Well, I guess another way I can phrase it is, what kind of rituals do you have while you're doing the process? Do you listen to anything in particular? Do you watch TV,
mm,
or like what's
mm,
your type of method?
yeah, it goes in phases. Currently, probably I'm listening to a lot of, probably the YouTube channel I'm watching the most recently is probably the Young Turks. I'm
Oh,
watching that a
okay, yeah,
lot just
sure.
because, with all of the election coverage and stuff going on in the US, so that's interesting to keep up to date with, and I prefer their network to others.
Mm-hmm.
So watching a lot of that, but there's been other times in the past, like if you asked me that probably this time last year, I probably would have said Mystery Science Theater 3000. I was watching a lot of that.
The new one or the old one?
Like old ones, just
Okay.
old episodes of that on YouTube. Sometimes just watching movies or kind of just like, having the movie there and like listening to it
Mm-hmm.
while working.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes listening to music, but usually it's video so that I just kind of have that visual thing going there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Because I do kind of the same thing. Like I like to feel distracted while I need to do something. That's the only way I can get it done. Like it's kind of like
Yeah.
I don't know if like it's an OCD thing or, or like I'll need to have some music and a video and just people trying to distract me. We're like I can't, and it helps me focus. Because if it's just quiet, it just kind of makes my mind go numb.
Yeah, I don't know. I I don't know. Personally, I think like when it's quiet, I do work well, but I think it's just like I have maybe just a kind of addiction to having something playing.
Mm-hmm.
So, actually, I've heard recently, and I don't know, I'm no scientist or doctor, so I don't know if I can totally believe it, but it seems to be, it's probably true that like the more you try to multitask, actually, the less productive you are.
Mm.
So like if you really just are just focusing on one thing, you'll be much more productive actually in that. So
I guess that could be
I don't
true, but
know. Yeah.
I have read about a different doctor or scientist, where they say where if you do it for a certain amount, is even if whatever thing you're focusing on, there's a certain point where it's usually after 30 minutes that your learning curve or your attention span starts to actually plateau and go down.
Mm,
And that's usually a problem that people have, especially when they're studying. Like when
yeah.
you have a test coming up, like I have an exam tomorrow, I'm gonna just study all night, and that's actually the worst thing you can do because after
Yeah.
every 20 to 30 minutes, it goes up and then it starts to wane and goes down. So at
Yeah.
after that certain period of time, you actually are becoming so unproductive
Mm,
that what you should be doing after that time is once you hit that high peak, as soon as you hit that, you take a break for 5 to 10 minutes, and you come back, and then you're slowly sustaining it up like this as a path. So I kind of
yeah,
see how that
definitely.
could work with having something on because you're not listening to that 100%.
Mm,
Because your main thing is what you're working on with your hands. But you're
mm,
having that, and then anytime when you need some type of a distraction, you slowly let that in. And
mm.
you're still learning in the meantime if you listen to something like Young Turks or you listen to like a podcast. Like for me, I love listening to podcasts while I'm
Mm.
doing work because I feel like you're still learning something while you're doing something.
Yeah, yeah. Right. That's the nice thing about it is feeling sort of like doubly productive.
For sure.
Like
Yeah.
whatever I'm working on, and then also just sort of like getting some news or information or whatever, right? So,
Yeah. So what else you got over there? Is there any other models that you're really
yeah,
proud
I'll
of
show you one here that I have that's painted.
that you painted yourself and
Yeah,
everything?
this one, it was just a really simple thing. I don't really have anything at the moment that would be more complex, but it's probably going to look pretty impressive. But Not really.
That's awesome.
My light is a
Look
little
at that pose.
yeah. Posing is a lot of the fun of it too, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice pose. So like this was just something that was just a really simple project that I just painted for a gift for my wife, actually. So it's not really a whole lot of work going into this, just the painting itself. And then like this back part is just came with the kit. It's not something that like I made separately or something that just is included with the kit.
And which model is this?
This is the Kamiki Burning Gundam.
Kamiki Burning Gundam.
And like here's another one that I'm currently working on right now. It just looks like this. It's just kind of white. Is that light too bright? It's kind of looks like it's blown out. This is like what it's originally supposed to look like.
Yeah.
This and mine looks still pretty similar probably, but it's currently blue. But like, currently white. That's because what I've done basically is make a mixture of putty. It's like taking the putty and thinned it and just thinned it down with paint thinner, and then you can just brush it on just like with an old toothbrush and just sort of like just sort of dab it, sort of the action like that. And what it does is basically it's creating a texture on the plastic, so the plastic is not just totally smooth.
Right.
And then just go over that and then just sand it with some sandpaper to sort of level it back down so it's not too textured.
Yeah.
Just to create that, and then I'll go and paint over that and do some weathering, which is sort of some different kind of painting and later detailing sort of process to make it look more realistic, like it's actually been out in the weather and in the elements. And then a friend of mine helped me get some LED setups, so I've got
awesome
LED wiring in here that I can put in that will light up its eye. So like this piece just fits inside here, and then it has a clear piece for the eye, so the eye will light up like that.
What? That's so badass.
Yeah, so you can do fun stuff like that. That's really simple. A lot of people do some really crazy modifications with LEDs and like having all sorts of stuff light up. I'm just now getting into that, so that's just very basic.
So do you have how can I say, when you're doing these thing, when you're making these gunplas and stuff, do you have any plans to ever sell them, or is it hard for you to because you collect, there's like a lot of time invested in doing it. Sometimes you feel like some type of an emotional attachment to some of them for whatever reason, but do you ever have plans on ever selling them or giving away? Like
that's a good question, because I think I maybe differ from a lot of people in that. I don't know, but most of mine for the past year and a half, I think I've given away or sold every kit that I've finished, except for this one.
Awesome.
Except for this one, which was a gift as well for my wife, and it's still here in my house. But I did give it to her. Everything that I've built recently, I've either given it away, because for me, I mean, I enjoy just the process of making it, and then I can take photographs and video of it, so I have it documented and everything. And then after that, I don't care that much to keep it around if someone else is gonna like appreciate it, or if it's something that I can give to someone who I know will appreciate it, then that's good. I like that. So yeah, I've given stuff away just as gifts, like to friends of mine, and then given some away like through contest giveaways on my channel.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. For me, whenever I look at like, every time I went to Youngstown, I went to the Gundam world. It was always very interesting to me, but for some reason, I was always drawn into Neon Genesis Evangelion. Is there like a taboo thing? For example, if you were to say, "Hey guys, welcome to my new episode. Today I'm going to be working on a Neon Genesis Evangelion," and then people would be like, "What?"
No. I think people would love it, because people on my channel like seeing when I do anything non-Gundam, because they like to see it just changed up a bit, I think, every now and then. So I've reviewed one Evangelion kit before. Personally, for me, I kind of prefer like just the Evangelion figures. I have
they seem so.
bunch, like something like this. I have a bunch of these.
Yeah, I love those. Look at that. That looks awesome. The color scheme and even like the character design, it's so different, and it feels very slight. You know, even though they're all not mechanized, it has this really kind of weirdish, organic feel to it because of the character design to it. So
yeah,
they're always drawn to me, and the story can be very deep and very secular or something. It's just so crazy.
So no, I mean there's no. I think like sort of like Star Wars and Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
People can argue about that. There's nothing like that, I think, in terms of our community.
So that's cool. So they're just into the passion of just creating and building and stuff.
Yeah,
and...
sure. If I suddenly did a model kit of like a tank or something, people might think that, or might get a little bit surprised by that, just because that's something that's still within the realm of modeling, but it's definitely quite different. It's not a giant robot.
Yeah, it's different genre then from that point. So is there any type of holy grail of gunplas out there? I mean, there's like, so many models. Like, it's so hard to see. But is there anything that people just like?
Well, I mean,
for whatever its complexity or its model design or for its rarity or anything like that.
It probably depends on people's personal taste. I mean, for the model kits that Bandai makes, and Bandai is the only company that's legally like owns the rights to producing Gundam model kits. They've really only discontinued a handful of kits. So like pretty much anything that they've ever produced, you can still get. You can always get it.
Sure.
It may be like out of stock for a while, but they'll always make more. There's a few kits, like I said, that they have discontinued. Like one of them that is kind of sort of rare, maybe is a Master Grade Unicorn Gundam. I have two of those actually. One that I got before was discontinued, and one that I got later after it was discontinued. But like that one, but probably the most like Holy Grail-ish kit that maybe one of them that is out there is actually not made by Bandai. There's another like Chinese company that was called Ellen. Now it's been kind of reformed, and now it goes by Mechanicore basically, and they make just like these big, very complex model kits. And like them being a third-party company, their quality is maybe not as good as Bandai's, but they try to, I think, incorporate a lot more. They give you like more stuff in the box, which is nice. Anyway, one of the kits that they made, which is now very hard to find, is a 1/100 scale, a large scale Kshatriya.
What is Kshatriya?
I don't know if I can really show you. Hang on just a minute. I'll get this here.
Sure. So while he's getting that, guys, please feel free to check out his YouTube channel. You can go to Zaku Aurelius, which I will be asking later about it. Whoa, look at this. That looks like a bag that you would give away on Chuseok.
Yeah,
it's like
a bag of spam.
Yeah, but it's instead of the huge Gundam.
This thing?
That looks amazing. Wow. Look at that.
Pretty intense.
Yeah. It's got like a casing inside a casing. It's like a lot of layers to it, right?
It has these big, huge kind of like wing sort of things.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bandai makes a smaller version of this, but this one is larger and much, much more detailed. So that's, I think, the appeal of this kit. I wanted to show you maybe the instruction manual, but here it is, just so you can see. But this kit, I think when it came out, it was something around like $250, something like that, I think. But now, I think if you can find one, you're probably going to be paying $400 or $500 for it, just because of its rarity. But I've heard that another like third party of the third party. I've heard like in China you can still get like basically like they're copies of this one that you can still get for like a cheaper price.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but I haven't heard about that. I don't know about that exactly. I'm trying to find a good kind of better picture that I can maybe show you. Okay. It's gonna look kind of like that.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
So let's go. Mine's still a work in progress. All I've got done on it so far is the inner frame of it, which and this kit also has a bunch of LEDs, but like the LEDs are all like pre-wired. All you have to do is basically just like install them while you're building the kit, and that's pretty much it.
So did you know when you were first starting making these model kits and stuff, was there, for me, like I actually only made one before because I got like a Neon Genesis character and stuff, and when I opened it up, it was so funny because I was so naive. I was like, oh, I thought I just bought the already completed model figure. I'm like, oh wow, what a great price for this, and I opened it up. I'm like, what? Like I have to, and I saw the instruction manual and everything was in Japanese.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, what did I get myself into? And I was just so adamant about I want to get this done. It was very frustrating for the first time. But at the end, when you finish it, obviously very relieved, very like, oh, like it's great. But what were some issues that you had in the beginning when you were building, and like obstacles and like things that you are now familiar with that helped out a lot?
I think probably for me and a lot of people, when you first get into the hobby, is probably painting. Because when you build the kit, it doesn't. Shouldn't take you very long to realize, oh, this would look better if it like had all of the colors, because the models, especially the more recent model kits, are really well designed in like their color separation of the parts. So like when you put together the kit, pretty much all the correct colors are there where they need to be before you do any painting. But back in the day, that was not so much the case, and even still, it's not always the case. So painting is something that I think a lot of people maybe want to do as like the first step, and it can be difficult to know because there's a lot of different kinds of paint, and you don't know about how to apply the paint, whether you want to do like by brush, by hand, or by airbrush, or by spray cans, and then what's the process for doing that. You have to spray surfacer before you do painting, and then you have to use top coat after you paint, and you're doing panel lining with there's a million different ways to do panel lining, just to sort of outline all the little like panels between the armor and stuff. So, and then there's decaling, all this different stuff you can do. But I think like painting is kind of like the first step, and it's also a very intimidating step. So I think that's where a lot of people get hung up at first.
Okay, so that's really interesting. So it's usually with painting and stuff, and that's usually a process where most people don't even go to sometimes, right? Like you mentioned before, like they just are really into just snapping and getting the model done, but they can still always go further and like start doing modifications with, like you said, with like the LED lighting and like what are some even more outstanding or crazy modifications that people have done to their Gundams?
There's also a thing called kit bashing.
Oh no, that sounds like you just get a hammer and break everything and freak people out.
That extreme, but it's basically just like taking parts from different kits and putting them together in one kit. So like,
oh, that's cool.
Say like I have this Gundam, but I really like the backpack of this other Gundam. So like taking that and putting it onto this one like that. So you're just taking parts from different kits and putting them into one kit to make something that's customized. That's a thing. That's a big thing. And then just scratch building, which is just building some parts or armor, or sometimes, in some cases, building the whole kit just totally from scratch, which is a whole different thing as well.
Wow. Have you ever made any type of dioramas or anything for your models?
I haven't. Yeah, that's a thing as well. Of course, dioramas is a big thing. I haven't done that. Probably this year is when I'll be working on my first kind of diorama. So on my channel, you should be able to see that hopefully later this year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So But by the way, speaking of your channel, it's been doing really, really awesome. You know, like a lot of people have been really great and interested and really supportive and like checking out your stuff. So, what would you say as a YouTuber are some really good things that helped you in getting consistent following and things that you've been doing?
The first thing I think was probably just the video quality. So I think my just video quality, everything was like in HD, which was not like the biggest. I mean, this was 2 years ago, so like it wasn't like HD was the new thing at that time.
Right.
It was a very common thing, but so the video quality was high, and like my lighting and sound was good. So like all of that, people appreciated right off the bat. But then I wanted to do something also that no one else was doing at the time. So I started doing a segment called Gunpla News, where it was just like a monthly video just covering all the news about new stuff that's coming out or new information that we got about models that are coming out soon and things like that. And people really enjoyed that because, like I said, at that time, no one was doing anything like that, really. I think that as comprehensive as I was doing. So that drew a lot of people in. And then I went to Japan around that time, and I made a video there. It was just, I didn't even like really plan on it. I was just going to Japan just for a trip.
Yeah.
And while I was there, I was just visiting friends in Osaka, and I said with my wife, like, let's go to the store. Why don't we just shoot a video there, and I'll put it on my channel. And that video ended up being extremely popular, and still the highest viewed video on my channel. It's 230,000 views, something like that.
Awesome.
So that really blew up my channel a lot at that time. And then once I got up to, shortly after that, I got to 1,000 subscribers. So for 1,000 subscribers, I wanted to do a giveaway to celebrate that. And then like within, I think I gave people like 2 weeks to enter the giveaway. So I think like from that time of like announcing the giveaway to the end of the giveaway, it went from like 1,000 to almost 2,000 subscribers, like within that 2 weeks, something like that.
Cool.
So giving away free stuff will always draw a lot of people to your channel.
What was the first giveaway that you did?
What did I do? I think I just did like a random draw. I think I told people just comment on the video, if I remember correctly. And then what I foolishly ended up doing at that time, what I did is I just printed out all the comments and just like cut up each one, and then just like put them all into a big box and just like shook it up. So it was like an actual raffle like draw.
Sure.
Which I think was visually pleasing for people to see that, but it was a lot of work for me. Because now I know there's just websites you can go and just put in your YouTube URL, and it can automatically draw a random comment for you. But and what did I give away at that time? I think I gave away 2 different kits maybe at that time. One of them I remember, the other one I don't remember. Anyway, I just gave away a couple of kits at that time. So
cool. So is that like a consistent thing that you're doing now, like every 1,000 followers or whatever?
Not every 1,000, because then
because it's becoming much more common now.
Yeah. For the past year and a half, it's been relatively consistent to about 1,000 subscribers per month.
That's great.
Yeah, very, very good. So very happy about that. Actually, now recently it's getting a little bit higher, which is good. So, I think I did 1,000, and then maybe after that was 3,000 or 5,000. It was shortly after that. So over the past year and a half, I've done a handful of giveaways, and I've done a couple of giveaways like with like a sponsor of some kind. I've worked with a couple of sponsors to do a couple of different giveaways, and I've done giveaways where like asking people to like submit a photo or submit like a t-shirt design. When I opened like my t-shirt shop website, I asked people to submit t-shirt designs, so that was good. People enjoyed that. You know, the people who I chose for winners got some free stuff. I got some designs for t-shirts for my shop, so
sure.
It was fun. So
that's great. So yeah, It feels like a very collaborative thing with your audience, you know, so it feels much more personal that way. You know, they get to know more about you, and they feel like they're also investing into what you're doing as well.
Yeah, I
So
think
it's a
so.
lot
I
of
hope
give and
so.
take, yeah.
Mm,
That's great.
definitely.
So, just a question I'm going to do, it's kind of going the other direction, but I'm just kind of curious. Um, when you think of the word successful, who usually comes into your mind?
Uh, Maybe Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, yeah?
Just because I was actually just having this conversation with a couple of my students yesterday,
Okay.
and that was who they were talking about. Um, but what else? I don't know. Casey Neistat.
Oh,
He's one of
okay.
the people
Yeah.
that
YouTube
I
blogger, yeah.
look up to a lot, and has influenced a lot of what I've done in YouTube and social media, definitely.
In what way has he helped influence you in that regard?
Um, about, I think, just uh, quality and quantity,
Mm-hmm.
like keeping a consistent stream of uploading while trying to maintain quality, and also like continuing to improve
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the content that you're giving and the range of content. So like trying to branch out and trying new things and just trying to constantly improve and keep updating, because if you're not, then you're just, if you're not, working to get better, then you're just falling behind. So uh, I don't think YouTube is any sort of like competition for me. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to compete against the others in the community or something like that. But it's just sort of a competition like for myself. I
Sure.
feel like I enjoy the success that my channel has, of course, and that success is shared for the community. I think it's not just success for me, because I think, yeah, a lot of people do enjoy my content. So, um, how else has Casey influenced me? Just being a cool dude, and also being very positive. I think that's one thing
Mm.
that I think my channel maybe shares with his, and I think it's just a common personality trait. It's not something that like I mimic from him, or he obviously doesn't mimic from me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like, I think, a common personality trait that we just want to keep our content just always positive and never really bring anything negative into it, because
Right.
I think as soon as you bring up anything negative, then it just breeds more negativity. So I don't want to see negative comments in my videos, or I don't want to see like negativity in the Gunpla community. So I don't ever bring up any negativity. I
Right.
don't think that's like hiding, or like, oh, don't come near me with that negativity. It's just there's just no need for it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's better to just keep everything positive. So
Absolutely.
mm.
Okay, and what advice would you give yourself 10 years ago, if you could?
10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago from where you are now.
So I'd be how old am I? 27. uh, um, I'd be just about finishing school, probably, and luckily I'm sure she's not watching, but I would probably tell myself to break up with my current girlfriend at that time. Uh, she was nice and a great girl, but I think later on in the relationship there was a lot of time wasted that I wish I had back. So uh, that, and I don't know, in terms of just like my life though, and like my future goals, I don't know, because I still don't really know exactly what I'm doing. I mean, I know what I'm doing now. I don't
Sure.
really know what I'm doing like for my career, my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know how much advice I could give my past self about that. I have a little bit more of an idea now, but not too much more. So yeah, at that time, like it was just the end of high school. I was playing in a band and just really enjoying my life at that time. So I don't think I really would have wanted to change too much about that time.
What was your band name?
Witness to a Murder.
Oh snap!
So
Is
it's like a
it a punk band?
metal,
Metal. What
yeah,
was the instrument that you played?
bass guitar.
Nice. Did you guys ever make an EP or anything like that? That was like the
We
dream of a high school band, making the
yeah,
EP.
sure. We did. It's not on YouTube. I've been meaning to put it on YouTube though.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking it's one of the ideas that I really want to do as soon as I can get a minute is to make like a YouTube channel for like music from like that time of my community because there was a lot of like small local bands around my community and stuff at that time. I think I have a lot of music still from that time, like from some friends' bands and my band and stuff. And I think I could collect some from other people who might still be holding on to that stuff
Sure.
and just make like a YouTube channel of just like some of that music from that time. Would be cool. But right now I have it on my iPod, which is somewhere else.
Those are some like old missing gems, like this starts to open up a flood of memories from the past, right?
Yeah, it was a really fun time.
For sure. That sounds
So-
great. Okay, awesome. I think we did cover a lot of things that I wanted to talk about. So before we finish off, I just want to ask you, what do you want to say to anyone else out there that's watching right now? Is there anything that you want to share or let them do or try or see?
Yeah, okay, sure. I've said this on my channel, I think, briefly, but just in case there's any of my audiences watching this, or I guess any of your audience as well, I guess. Recently, I took a trip to Japan, and actually the trip was sponsored by my sponsor. I have a sponsor, which is a gunpla shop, online shop in Australia.
Awesome.
And I wrote up a business proposal and all of that, and said I want to go to Japan and make these videos, and they agreed to sponsor the trip. So
wow,
that was really, really cool of them. And I think especially that trip and just sort of like the success that I've enjoyed through my YouTube channel, I think one thing that I want to share to especially my audience, and other people can I think maybe adapt this to whatever their interests are as well, is that there is a lot of possibility in these things that you do. And I think this hobby, I was trying to explain this to my girlfriend as well about the Japan trip that sorry, my wife. We were talking about the past there for too long. Is that this hobby it's like a very small thing. It's something that people just do by themselves. Usually, I mean, there's some people who luckily have a community that can get together with people, but usually people are doing it by themselves at their desk, in their room, or doing it online. And that's a very small, contained thing. But I think it can be more if we, as people who are the creators, especially content creators online, try and do it. I think there are opportunities out there to do that. I went to Japan earlier this year. Later this year, I'm going to the Philippines to be a guest judge at a gunpla competition there.
Awesome.
So these kind of possibilities exist that will only help to expand our community. Seeing that, for people who come into the community just new, they're seeing online. It's basically just a bunch of guys who sit at home and build these models, which is fun. And if you enjoy that, that's cool. But if you can see there's people who are traveling by doing gunpla and enjoying doing all of these things more than just this small thing, then I think that can be very inspiring for people.
For sure.
To make this hobby grow even more than what it is. So that, I don't know if that exactly makes sense, but that I think is good. There's a lot of possibilities out there. Just work hard and try new things and make good quality content consistently, and people will enjoy it.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you because it always starts with as a hobby of doing anything, right?
Sure.
I mean, just as many modern artists, that's what they do at the beginning and it's just the same as making a YouTube video. Is always about being consistent, just in general, right? Consistent with what you're doing and stuff, and that's how you show improvements. That's how you get better, right? That's how you start to refine and get better in overall qualities and whatever you're creating and just doing in overall life. So I think it's I think it's pretty awesome, I remember we met like years ago, right? We met years
Yeah.
ago at the Myeongdong Fantasy
Mm.
Exhibition Festival thing, and it's really awesome. It's really awesome to see, to get to know more about you, but to see
Mm.
what you're really into, this passionate hobby of yours that turned into something that's completely viable, but
Mm.
also working and creating a great community and letting people know more about it. And it lets people appreciate something that they may have not ever been exposed to,
Mm.
and maybe give them some self-reflection on something that they really want to do, that they shouldn't care what other people think about it anyways, because
Definitely.
they're just enjoying it themselves that way.
Mm.
So that's pretty badass.
It's really amazing to hear, and I hear this more often than I probably ever would have imagined. Like people telling me like, I just recently got into Gunpla, and all your videos have been a huge help, or like I got into Gunpla because of finding your videos or stuff like that. So it's been really amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's amazing how many people I've heard of from people here in Korea, expats or military here in Korea, that have said like some of the videos. I did a series of videos of touring some Gunpla shops in Seoul
Yeah.
and stuff. Like people have told me like those have been like really helpful for like finding stuff. So yeah, I think there are definitely a lot of the audience who is being introduced to the hobby through this as well, which is great. And like you said, people shouldn't feel like embarrassed about like making toys, because it's obviously more than that, right?
Yeah, obviously, especially the stuff that you showed me. I mean, there's so much complexity. There's so much,
Mm.
more that you can do into it and refine it, and still leave your own mark and impression into it. And then people will respect it. Like obviously, it's very impressive when you see that,
Mm.
because the final product is a culmination of everything that you've worked on up to that
Mm.
point. So it's something to be really inspired by. Yeah.
Mm. Is just if I can just add one more thing,
Sure. Yeah.
just
Yeah.
uh, a couple weeks ago or something, like maybe I was talking with some co-teachers at my school. I'm an elementary school English teacher,
Right.
and there's a group of guys at my school who are like kind of all maybe 4 or 5 guys who are around 30 and not married, so they often get together for having haeshik,
Mm-hmm.
just drinking and stuff after work.
Are they Korean or are they expats?
Yeah,
Okay.
Korean,
Okay.
Korean.
Yeah.
And they sometimes invite me, but I'm always busy, so like I can never join. So I feel bad about that because they're cool guys and I like to hang out with them, and I know that they like me. So I was saying to one of them like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. Like I always want to join like your hueshik. I always want to join you guys for dinner and drinking or whatever, but I'm always busy and always have stuff to do." And they're like, "Oh no, like we really envy you because you have your hobby that like you really enjoy your hobby and do really well,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're really envious of you for that." So
Mm-hmm.
just that was really interesting. I thought like that's cool. I don't know.
You should do gunpla hoishik.
With them.
Yeah. Why
Yeah.
not? I'm sure they're envious, right? Like come on, they're Asian. They grew up in Korea. Like they have this type of like. Will you invite us sometime? Will we ever to come play together and stuff?
Mm.
You never know. You could surprise someone that way. So
Yeah, not a bad idea.
yeah. Anyways, it would be great. Like especially for beginners. Like it'd be really interesting too. Actually, is I know you're doing so much on YouTube already, but while you're making the modeling kits, I'm not sure if you ever thought of trying something on Twitch, because on Twitch they have the creative channel, and it's not just game playing, but you can actually do anything besides that. And I think it'd be so many people interested in just watching you doing something that you do already, which is snapping and all that kind of stuff, and just have a camera there and just get people interested in checking that out. I think it'd be...
Yeah, other people have recommended that to me, and I've thought about that, but I really have no experience with Twitch, so I don't really know kind of how it works or what it's about. But that's something I have been thinking of looking into, and probably will look into sometime in the future.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure that's something we can talk about later afterwards and stuff. But I mean, it's so great. I just love to see all this stuff. It gets me so excited, and because like after talking and seeing this stuff, like you have it. I love these awesome tangible things. Like I love to collect all these different types of figurines and stuff, and it's completely different when you make it yourself. So
sure,
you have much more of a attachment to it and stuff.
Sure. Like when you spend like $20, $30 for this nice figure, it's like, yeah, that looks really good, and put it down, and that's it. It's kind of
You
done.
walk away.
And you'll admire it while passing by now and then. But yeah, it's, of course, you just feel so much more satisfaction from actually building something.
Cool.
Of course.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So,
So,
yeah, thank you so much again, Zach. Can you please
welcome.
just let people know where they can find more about what you're doing?
Yeah, YouTube, obviously, of course, there. My Facebook page, Instagram. Instagram is, I think, is a really great way to keep up with what's coming up on my channel, because usually I'm posting stuff on Instagram a few days or a good while before like the videos will actually pop up on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, because I always have a queue of YouTube videos. Um,
Mm.
so that's a good way if you really want to know like what's coming up. Follow me on Instagram. Also, Beam. Trying to use Beam, not using it as much as I would like, but Beam as well, and Twitter, of course. Twitter as well. I don't use it as much as I would like, but I'll hopefully be working on that more.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Yeah,
So, thank you again for doing this. It was really awesome to connect with you this way, and
pleasure.
I can't wait to go and get a new model and show it to you and
Yeah, try it.
and hopefully get some feedback back from that.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
let's just stick around for a little bit, but I'll finish the stream here and we'll talk more. But yeah, thanks to everyone again for watching. Please feel free to subscribe and definitely check out Zach's Facebook and YouTube and all his other social media. I'll be definitely putting it in the descriptions below so everyone can check it out and see what it's all the beauty and magnificence that he's done up to then.
Thank you.
So that's it, guys. Take care, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye bye.